Hello, guys, and this is Sapphire Yagami, and we're going to start off our fall series of TV with Sleepy Hollow, which premiered last night on Fox at 9 o'clock after Bones. And so, many of you know of Sleepy Hollow, it deals with the Headless Horseman. But the way the pilot had told the story, it is very interesting. It's not like the traditional Horseman story. They put a twist to it, so it was really, really good. So the episode starts off with we have Ichabod, that's our main character, male character. He's fighting in, well, of course, well, no, he's fighting in the Revolutionary War under George Washington. So we know we know at that time period 17. Can't remember the exact year. I think 1751. It was when it was at Hudson, New York, fighting the British. Okay, so we didn't have, we see in America fight the British. There's blood everywhere. Guns going off, and then we have this man on this white horse. He's pretty much heading toward Ichabod. So Ichabod shoots him, the man off his horse, but it doesn't kill him. So he stands right back up, and he has this axe in his hand. And then the man in the mask slices Ichabod across his chest, which was um, a really bad wound. So he almost stumbles. He pretty much stumbles, and he takes the masked man's axe and chops his head off. Now, the masked man has this like brand on his, would it be his left? Let's see. I'm trying to think. It would be, I guess it would be his left hand, or would it be his right? Well, technically it would be his right, since it's a mirror image. It would be his right hand. It looks like a anchor, an anchor for a ship. It's like that. And so we didn't have Ichabod pretty much blacking out, and we hear like this voice of "Please don't die, please don't die, please don't die, please don't die," and then he awakes up out of this grave in this cave somewhere. So he's looking around like, okay, he sees candles, he sees a book, and he goes up these stairs, and he's in these woods somewhere, and he goes into the street, and he almost get hit by 18 wheeler. It was like literally like a really close call, like inches away from his body. He almost got hit. Then he turns around, and there's a car that swerves and crashes into a tree, and he's like, oh my goodness. Like, what the heck is that? Because yeah, remember, it's when he was alive, he was in the Revolutionary War. We didn't have cars. They didn't have cars yet, okay? Especially 18 was. They didn't have all that yet. And so then we have him walking down the road, and we have the song playing by. I know the song. I just can't. It played in the movie at the end of the film, Interview with a Vampire. Um, it played it. Yeah, it played it in that movie. I just can't tell you the song right now. So that plays, and they go over to the screen, and they move the camera over, and then we see Sleepy Hollow, population, blah blah blah, and then we see two cops. We see the sheriff and Abby. I keep forgetting what her position is. They're sitting down, eating and chatting. She's talking about when she gonna be resigning from the force and everything, moving from Sleepy Hollow. And then they bring up talking about some of the cases they didn't have lately that has been unsolved. And so they go into the car, and they get a call saying, yo, somebody from this barn, called in saying something that's spooking his horses. So cops go like, okay, we'll go check it out. We're gonna go check out the barn. Checking everything. They're looking for the owner. Abby's looking for the owner. That's our black female lead, and we have the sheriff, and he's going out looking at the horses like, hey, like calm down. So the horse like, like trying to warn them, because anytime in any situation, if the animals are freaking out about something, that means something is going wrong. Like seriously, I don't care whether it's a horror movie, a national disaster movie. Animals usually would have the common sense to warn us, but apparently we don't never pay attention to them. So we end up, so the horse like freaking out like all that noise and stuff. And so do we have Abby? She noticed that the car, the owner who's there, He's not in it. Looks like he was trying to get in, and he had a weapon on the floor. So she's calling him, I have the weapon on the floor. And then she ends up finding the man with his head chopped off. And she's like, what the? So she goes over to the barn and try to get the sheriff. The sheriff like hears something in the kind of rustling in the background in the darkness. Why is it always in a certain area like a barn like that? Like one side seems to be so full of light and light, like the end of the barn is like nothing but freaking dark. Like really? Fix your lighting. And so the horseman comes out with his axe, like and the dude and the sheriff's like, oh my god, oh my god. And so he starts to shoot at the horseman, but it doesn't affect him because because technically, if you have your head chopped off, technically you're dead. So bullets ain't gonna hurt you. You didn't already had your head chopped off. So he starts shooting at the man, and I'm like, dude, just get out the effing barn. So he just back. So he keeps shooting. So he pretty much, is his back is to the barn door. So then we have Abby coming up, trying to hurry get there, and then she just sees a axe coming through the barn door, and she freaks out and like stumbles and hits the floor. And then we have the horseman on a horse, and I would say he looks at her, but he doesn't have eyes, so his body kind of looks at her a little bit. And she's like, what the heck? Because I'll be freaked out too if I saw somebody on a horse who had no head. I'd be freaking out too. And so then he just rides off. He doesn't attack or anything. And so she freaks out, and they end up and then we scan over to Ichabod, who is end up getting caught by the police because we done had some headless situations. So obviously he's a prime suspect because he kind of looks dirty, whatnot. I mean, you would look dirty too if you just walked out your grave. So then they bring in Abby to try to identify him, and she's like, "That's not him," because the man I saw had no head, and So then, as Abby is explaining to Andy, who's being played by John Cho, most of y'all probably know John Cho from Harold and Kumar or the Star Trek films from 2009 and the recently new one that just got released on DVD, Into Darkness. And so they're going over talking like this is not him, and they're talking, and she's explaining that the dude that she saw had a anchor on his head. So as she's explaining this, Ichabod is listening, and he's like, and she's like, you know him? He's like, yeah, I killed him. And they're like, wait, what? So then they have to bring him in because he's talking about he know the dude, so obviously they got to question him. So they have him tied to a chair, and they have tied to the polygraph, to see when they ask him the question, is he telling the truth or not? So he goes to explain his backstory. I was part of the such regiment, da 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 da. And they're like, wait, the what? He was like, I fought in the Revolutionary War. And blah, blah, blah. They were like, really? Yeah, he was like, yeah, under George Washington. So he goes through all these questions, and now the polygraph has never, did like a thing where it goes, up and down to see if he's lying. He's been telling the truth all the time, but given the fact that the Revolutionary War was 250 years ago, and your wife was dead, cause that tripped him out when they told him that, well, sir, cause the police officer was like, sir, I'm here to tell you that we won the war. And he showed them the $1 bill with the George Washington on and say, that was 250 years ago. So Ichabod like, wait, what? He's missed 250 years. He's like, wait, what? How did I go from there to skip a bunch of years? So they decide, like, okay, this dude is obviously mental. We're just gonna take him to the mental hospital because apparently he cannot be telling the truth that he was, actually under George Washington, fighting for Americans' freedom. Apparently that was so not so. So they put him in the back into the cell, and he looks at Abby, and he asks, he asks her, was she emancipated? Now, given the fact that to him, she kind of flips out though because she's like, wait, what did you say? Because you gotta remember, he's from the time of George before George Washington was even first president of the United States. So that means as Americans, well, let's put it this way: white Americans are fighting for their freedom during the American Revolutionary War against the British. Black people at this time frame are still slaves. Civil War don't happen until we hit the 16th president of the United States. So we got a long way to go before Ichabod even got to that point in life. So to him, black people are still slaves. So he's like, so he asks her, "Are you emancipated?" She's like, "Yeah, I'm emancipated. Like we have been emancipated for such high years." So he's like, "Whoa, I have missed a lot," you know. So she ends up being the one to try to escort him to the hospital, but she has become curious about the situation because the horseman that killed the sheriff, he's kind of like friend to her and stuff. So she wants to know. She wants Ichabod to show her the cave in which he awoken from. So as they're driving toward the cave, Ichabod sees this priest, and then we have like a flashback to 250 years ago. It's the same dude. So you're like, wait, what the hell? How the hell? That's that. Whatever he drinking, I need to drink that too. Cause if I could live that long, I wouldn't mind that drink. Yeah, that I need to know what he drinking. So we then have Abby and Ichabod exploring the cave, and Ichabod has this Bible. It's George Washington's Bible, and he begins to read from the book of Revelation. If nobody knows what the book of Revelation is, the book of Revelation is pretty much the last book in the Bible, which pretty much details the end time for the world and the coming of Christ and him fighting the Antichrist. Hold on one second. Okay, I thought there was somebody knocking on my door. Anyway, so as he's reading from the book of Revelation, he describes, of course, the coming of of the horsemen. So he describes the horsemen of death, you know, rode on a pale horse, stuff like that. So as he's reading the description of the horseman of death, which is one of the horsemen of the apocalypse, he realizes that the horseman of the headless horseman is actually the horseman of death from the apocalypse. Now Abby's like, okay, now you really crazy. Really? The horseman apocalypse, like really? She just has that look on okay, you know what? You apparently you must be part of you obviously you is really crazy. Cause you telling me that this headless dude that's walking around is the horseman of death. So he goes and explains that well it makes sense because when I shot him the first time back in the Revolutionary War, he should have died because technically it would have been a fatal wound. But he got back up and he goes into the fact that apparently he can't nothing will ever harm him because he's death. You can't harm death. It's kind of stupid. You can't harm death, and we all know you can't escape it neither if you find final destination. So we go over to the next scene. Follows the priest who is running outside with a shovel, and he's in his graveyard. Then we see this flash. Then it goes to this tombstone, which has the symbol of the Eye of Providence, surrounded by rays of like sunlight. If y'all don't know what the Eye of Providence is, is also known as the Eye of Horus or the all-seeing eye, which is also on the back of our dollar bills, which most people refer to a symbol of the secret society, the Illuminati. You can read more about what I wrote about that on my blog, WordPress on WordPress, Sakura Celestine, WordPress.com. It's titled Secret Society, The Enlightened Ones. More about that. And then we have the horseman approaches the priest, by getting ready to chop his head off. He got his axe ready. So then the priest does like this thing, like apparently he got some sort of telekinesis because then he got these chains flying at the horseman trying to contain him. I'm like, oh snap, the priest is gangster. Oh snap, the priest is fighting back. That's what I'm talking about. But obviously the chains don't hold on apparently death. So as the horseman approached him, the priest says, "You will never find it." So we're like, "I'm like, what's it?" And then he gets his head chopped off. So then we have Abby. Abby head to the crime scene, keeps Ichabod out of the car because technically she's supposed to take him to the mental hospital. He's not even supposed to be here. But Ichabod, he sees this bird that's kind of like, like saying, "Hey, follow me, follow me." So he tries to figure out how to get out the car because obviously they didn't have cars back then. So we have Abby looking like, oh my god, yeah, the crime scene, the priest happened, and they were like, then her boss and everybody else kind of sees Ichabod going down toward the graveyard, like, I thought he was, she's like, sir, calm down, sir. Obviously, if he was with me, that means he's not a killer. He's like, do you want to lose your badge? Giving her the whole, police type talk, And she's like, ugh. So we follow Ichabod, who follows this bird. The bird sits on top of this tombstone. It reads Catherine, and then we see, your first name, last name, the day you born, died, and it says she was burnt at the stake for witchcraft. So Ichabod, kind of, hurt his, to realize his, it kind of hurt him to realize that his wife was burnt for witchcraft. But come on now, man. So he was like upset and everything. And then we have Abby like, oh, it's okay. So then we have them argue for a minute, and then she, actually escorts him to the mental hospital. And she says that this is too much for her, and he's like, so he's like, there's something that she's not telling him, which makes her not want to believe all this stuff happened. So we go back to a flashback of her. It's her and her sister Jenny. They're walking. They was in high school. They're walking from home through the woods. Why would you walk through the woods? You can't take a sidewalk or a street. I'm saying, why you gotta walk through the woods? What is with that in movies and TV? Why you gotta walk through the woods? So they're walking through the woods, and she sees something kind of like crawling out the ground. We never really see what the heck the thing is, but it's like, it's like, I wouldn't say really a shadowy figure, because you can see some sort of color, but it's like this shadowy type figure, and on the top of his head you can see like kind of like horns. So you like, so she's like, she saw this and stuff. And, they went to go, and they told people, but people just passed it off that you guys were just seeing stuff. No, because they had blacked out. I'm sorry, they had blacked out after they saw it. And the parents part off, the people of the city, because y'all remember, it's kind of, it's sort of a small town, it's not really a big town like New York. It's a really, really small town. So, everybody knows everybody. So, it's passed off. She's crazy. Jenny didn't think she was crazy. She kind of went to try to investigate stuff more about it, but she ended up being put into the mental hospital. So this is why Abby, anything that comes up weird, she's like, no, 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 because you don't want to be considered crazy. Nobody wants to be considered crazy and put into a mental hospital. So as Ichabod is now in a mental hospital, we have Abby go back to the sheriff's office. She's looking around and everything. She looks at this picture. She turns it over. She finds this key. So she's like, okay, this key got over something. Keys got over something. She tries all these drawers, and she tries this drawer. And as she unlocks it, she notices all these files. And they all labeled as occult, supernatural. So she's like, what the heck? So she starts reading everything. And as she's reading, she plays this, how people record themselves, talking and stuff. And so she plays the tape recorder. And it's the sheriff. And apparently he's discussing stuff that he has researched so far from very mysterious cases concerning, apparently, there's these two covens. Apparently one is good, one is bad. One is fighting, of course the bad coven is trying to do this thing. So he's like, whew. So the evil coven is apparently, where's my notes? Okay, here we go. These evil coven is working apparently with these demon, which is apparently trying to raise the four horsemen of the apocalypse. So if they're trying to raise the four horsemen of the apocalypse, that means we is talking about biblical end times up in here. And the good covenant is trying to prevent that from happening. So she's reading up. So then it goes into all these incidents in terms of cases where this figure has been seen apparently, okay, in a couple of times throughout this town's history by people that have said they have seen it. They have had many accounts of these people talking about certain people from in one of the things was 1851, talking about they have seen this shadowy figure in these woods with these horns. So then I'm like, okay, that's the same thing Katrina saw, and her sister's case is also now. So she's like, oh my goodness, apparently I'm not the only one. I'm like, yeah, baby, you was not the only one. So she hurries and put this piece of paper in her back, and hurry locks everything up because her boss comes in. He's like, what you doing here? She's like, oh, nothing, I was just looking around, I miss him so much, so she then leaves. And then we get a close up on the her boss's face, like he knows something. I'm like, he knows something, because in the last part of the text said, "There's no one he can trust." Cause apparent, cause the town's so small, we don't, and she doesn't know who the truck. Cause we didn't see the boss face. Obviously, like he knows something. So it's like people in this town, they know what's up. Cause the Covenant apparently are still in this town. They know what's up, and there's terms of secret societies going on, which was probably explain the whole um tombstone with the Eye of Providence. So this town, people in this town, they know what's going on. Some don't. Obviously, like Abby. Some do. Obviously, like her boss. hmm And so, as Ichabod is apparently trying to sleep in the mental hospital, he's sleeping and he ends up seeing his wife Katrina. She confesses to her husband that she was a witch, and that reveals that she is part of this coven, which is trying to prevent this bad shit from happening. And she also reveals that her husband, when she killed him, when the horseman killed him, and he wounded the horseman by chopping up his head, that they end up being bound by blood. So we see Ichabod's, lying dead, his blood bleeding out from him. And then we see the horseman's blood, which is black blood, like in Soul Eater, bleeding out from him, and they connect together, so they're now bound by blood. I'm like, really? Your blood touching, y'all already bound each other? Jesus, that sucks. And said that when the horseman awoke, that woke up her husband. They're bound to each other by blood. I'm like, that sucks. And she reveals that the horseman is searching for her skull, and that if he finds his skull, he will be whole once again, and he will end up raising the other. So we're talking about Death needs to find his skull, and then he needs to raise up pestilence, famine, and war. Hello, horseman of apocalypse. And now Ichabod's like, what the? Oh my goodness! Like, really, really? Now I gotta stop the horsemen of death from raising war, pestilence, and famine. Oh, great! This is just beautiful. This is just effing beautiful. And so she says like he must go quickly. She apparently he has to hurry and wake up because something is coming. And then we see the shadowy freaking demon thing again with these horns trying to grab Ichabod, but he already wake up, and now apparently I'm guessing he was mumbling in sleep because they're trying to because the orderlies are trying to inject him with something. So we have Abby coming in just in nick of time and says, I have a warrant and stuff that he's gonna be in my custody and stuff. And she's like, I lied about that whole warrant thing, so we need her to run it before they realize it's fake. Let's go, let's go, let's go. So as Abby is driving with Ichabod in the car, she calls Andy, which has been played by John Cho, and she says, "Yo, we need to, you need to call for backup because I'm on to something. And I figure out what this killer might be." And he's like, "Abby, da da da," and I just got home and da 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 da, and they're like, "Just do it." He's like, "Okay, I do it." So when he gets to his door, he realizes he has been broken into. So as a police officer, he's gonna go in slowly, got his gun cocked and ready. He realizes his gun case has been opened. So we didn't have the horseman pop out from behind a chair. I'm like, this dude is good at playing hide and seek. Like seriously, try to play hide and seek with the horseman. It would be the best game ever. Except you might get your head chopped off in the end. So yeah. So the horseman no longer has an axe. He still has an axe. He just has a side. He decides I'm gonna have a shotgun. I'm gonna have a freaking rifle and a machine gun, like a little. I'm not sure what the name of these guns are, but I think there's an assault rifle and an M16. I'm like, really, really. I mean, the horseman decided I'm gonna get martyred up in this bitch. He got the guns. I'm like, oh my goodness, really. So he looks at. So I keep saying he looks at Andy, but he has no eyes, so he can't possibly look at him. His body is facing toward him, and Andy says, I don't know what it is. So Andy knows something about this. So it's like so apparently you really can't trust nobody because everybody knows something and not telling nobody. So it's like who can you really trust, Then we skip over to Ichabod and Andy and they dig up his wife's grave because she said that's where she says that her body is actually in an unmarked grave. And that was actually buried where her name tombstone is the head of the horseman. So they dig it up and they see it, and it's just ugly looking. Cause in the Revolutionary War, we never saw what his face looked like because he had this mask on. So with his skull not being decayed, it kind of looks, kind of like how you would picture the Horseman of Death, what his face would look like, kind of skull looking and stuff like that. Really creepy looking. So the Horseman then comes to the grave trying to look for his thing, and he almost gets to Ichabod, and he got his assault rifle on. So we had Abby shoot him, kind of distract him, so Ichabod can get out the grave. Ichabod begins fighting the Horseman. Abby sees Andy, and she's like, "Oh my God, thank you. Is backup coming?" He's like, "Yeah, backup coming." So then she asks for, she needs a bigger gun because obviously her little handgun ain't gonna work. So then he opens the trunk and he knocks her out. I'm like, oh great, this is all we need, really. So then we have Andy have her in the back seat, or is it the trunk? I really couldn't tell. Trying to tell her up, he's like, shh, it's gonna be okay, it's gonna be okay, it's gonna be okay, it's gonna be okay. I'm like, dude, you sound so creepy right now. And then she ends up biting his thumb and holds him at gunpoint. Like, what the hell is going on? And he's like, oh my God, you can't stop him, you can't stop him, you can't stop him. I'm like, what the hell does he know? So we then have two more cops show up. It's a black cop and a white cop. And like to see the dude, and they're like, "Sir, put your hands above yo." And they stop as the Horseman turns around because he has no head. They're like, "What the hell?" And they proceed to shoot at him. And then, of course, the Horseman with his modern day weapon now shoots him up, but he can't stay long because because the sun is coming up. He can't be in the sunlight. It kind of burns. So we didn't have the Horseman ride off. Abby and Ichabod, they have the head of the Horseman. Andy is put into custody since, he attacked a fellow police officer. And Ichabod reads more from the Book of Revelation and states that there are two witnesses from the Book of Revelation, and that Abby and him are the two witnesses to try to prevent the end of times from happening. So she's like, oh my, it's still a little too much for her to take in, and that she decided they need to talk to Andy to see what he really knows, because he knows something, obviously. We then see Andy in a cell, and he's talking to this demony ass figure that we've been seeing so far with these horns and shit. And he said that I tried, and he stands up, turns around, and then the demon like waves his hand, and Andy's head just literally pops freaking back. Just pops his neck, going all the way freaking back. Like, okay, you know how you tilt your head, but like imagine tilting your head all the way to like your head could actually really almost like touch your spine. That's how he did. So when Abby and them come in, they see him obviously dead. So they like, then they look at this mirror and they see the forest areas, and they see this demon. And then the demon kind of like does like that creepy supernatural thing where it kind of speeds up and it cracks the mirror, and the show goes off. So the plot line they have for this Horseman, I love the twist to it, is the fact that he's not just a regular horseman. He's the Horseman of Death from the apocalypse who needs to find his head so he could raise the others so they could bring about the end times. So I'm like, I like the biblical twist to the the Sleepy Hollow story. I love it. I love taking old stuff and putting a twist to it. It's like Once Upon a Time with the twist with the fairy tales. I love it. So that was this pilot episode of Sleepy Hollow. It premieres. The second episode will be Monday night. It comes on at 9. Comes on at 9 Eastern time, because I'm on Eastern time over here. So I will see you guys next time for Sleepy Hollow, and for the rest of the fall season for the rest of these shows. Agents of Shield, Once Upon a Time, Wonderland, The Walking Dead, Dracula, and everything else I have listed on my channel. So I would like to really know you guys' opinions on the pilot episode of Sleepy Hollow. Do you like where the twist is going with the Horseman being the Horseman of Death? Do you think Ichabod and Abby might be love interests? You think there might be a love triangle since with his wife and Abby. What are your opinions on this show so far? If you have seen the pilot episode last night, just leave your comments below, and I will see you guys next time. Comment, rate, subscribe. Bye.